Hello everyone. Again, this is the second version of second edition of the Gno Live Coding Sessions. Today we're going to be building out a home realm, and we're going to see what that is and why it's important or why you should have it. And again, these sessions are casual learning. We're learning how Gno works and how to actually build stuff in Gno. And I can make mistakes during this session, and the audience is very welcome to point them out and help me fix them. And this is supposed to be a learning path for everybody. So we can get started by just giving a general overview of like what I want to do in this session. So if we go to our demo Manfred, we'll see that sorry, it's not, so it's Manfred/home. I'm sorry. So this is the path that we're looking at, and this is a smart contract that lives on the portal loop network, and it's under our Manfred home. Okay, and what is this? This is Manfred's home page or home dashboard, so to say. So the idea is that we can actually use smart contracts to create these home pages, and well, this is basically just like any other smart contract, except we're calling it home, and it lives under r/your username/home. The idea is that anybody who goes on chain can actually go to your home page and learn about you, learn about your contributions, learn about what you do, etc., etc. So something like a profile page. And this is inspired by GitHub to a degree, because we want GNO.land to be like the GitHub of the ecosystem. So it contains all of the code, obviously, and we also want people to be able to see what everybody is doing. So if we take a look at my GitHub page here, GitHub profile here, you'll see that I have a picture, I have some bio here, some stuff about me, some of the pinned contributions or repos that I use all the time, and then some contributions, and then some activity. So we kind of want to mimic this to a degree, and we don't really have to, but this is like the gist of what I want to do in this session. And this is again Manfred's homepage. And let's just jump into the source real quick and see exactly what it contains. And it's quite simple actually. It contains a few things. So it contains this render function, which is like the main thing of this realm. The render function, again, for those of you that do not know, is basically a function in Gno that you can write, and it's supposed to take in a string and it's supposed to return a string. And this string is mainly for Markdown. So you can basically write Markdown in this string. So for example, here this is an H1, and then there's some new lines. This is an H2, and this is a link to an image. And then if you return it, gnoweb, which is what we're looking at right now, will go to this. If we go to this specific path, we give this as an argument to gnoweb, and then gnoweb actually asks the chain and asks for the render function. And then basically what happens is that it actually gets rendered out to gnoweb. So that's the gist. We have two main pieces of technology. We have the GNO.land blockchain, and then we have gnoweb, which is basically just a Go application that is running like a server, and you tell it which path you want to look at, and then it asks the chain, hey, chain, please give me the render of this specific path. And that's the gist. That's the gist of how it works. So for example, here Manfred just has an image, he has some status, and there's like a personal to-do list. And it's quite simple, and this is very, very custom, by the way, so you guys can really choose to do whatever you want, and I'm kind of going to do it my way, and maybe give you like a small template or some inspiration on how to do this. But let's just go through this real quick and see what actually exists in here. So the render is there, right? Then he has an init function here, which says, okay, there's some to-dos, there's a status, and there's the meme URL, right? So the stuff that we saw on the front page is actually kept at top level. So he's saving some list of strings that are to-dos. He's saving his status, and in the case of the current page, it's just online, so nothing special. And then there's a meme image URL, and then he's setting all of these in the init function, and that basically means that whenever this contract is uploaded this function is executed. So all of these are actually initialized to their values. And then, for example, he has some other stuff. For example, he has a function that updates the status. So he can call this and he can say, I'm offline now, or I'm not here, or whatever. And then there's like to-dos. So he can add to-dos and delete to-dos. And one of the cool things is that he also includes this config package. And I'm going to start with this actually when we start actually writing code. But the idea is that this config package lives under our manfred config, and we can actually just check it out like this. And we go to the source, and basically what this package has is it just has his address. It has a public function that returns this address, just so somebody can, like, for example, import his package and then just say, instead of hard coding an address, they can always give Manfred the access to an admin right or something, for example, by just importing manfred/config dot address, right, and then using it. So Manfred can actually update this with this, and then when somebody imports his package, it can be a dynamic change. So if Manfred does change his address, you can still give him the rights instead of having to do like a manual transfer of ownership, etc., etc. So this is something that's pretty cool. And then there's like an assert is admin. So this function is just going to panic if the caller is not an admin. So in this case, if somebody else but Manfred is calling this function, it's just not going to allow you to do it. Okay, cool. And before we go into the code, I just want to show you one more thing, and this is a very important piece of today's lesson. And this is a smart contract called rDemoUsers, and I'm sure some of you have already heard about it, but basically what it does is it allows you to register. You basically register a name, a address to a username. So it's just like a DNS / from Ethereum. If you know about ENS, that's the gist. And you have a register function, and you can basically just call it and say, okay, this address, let's map it to this username. And for example, here, if we go to the render, so this is the render of the page, and you can see Leon, Manfred. So Manfred is here, and then he just, this is a very minimalistic app. It just registers and just says which address is registered to this username, and then it allows the user to actually give a very small, short description of whatever they want, right? So, for example, I'm not really sure what I did here, but let's see. I did the same, and I was invited. So there's two ways to actually get a username here. One way is to get invited by somebody else who already has the invite. So, for example, if we take a look at Manfred, he has 9 invites. And in my case, I have 0 because I was invited. And then the other option is if we go to help, you can actually call the register function. But in this case, if we check out the code, let's go here and just check out register. So there's a fee, right? And the idea is that we don't want just anybody spamming this and just taking up all of these. Somebody could just run a script that's just gonna basically squat on a lot of these usernames. So we want to set a fee so that, you know, people who want to try to kind of cheat the system, it's harder for them to do it. So the idea is that in this case, this code is a little bit unreadable, to be honest, and it is kind of ugly in my opinion, but we will actually refactor this at some degree at some point. But the gist is there is a minimum fee, and the fee for this, for calling this function is 200 knots. So there's 2 ways of going about this, about actually registering. So first of all, let me see if I can open up my Gno wallet. And I have a ton of gnots on test 4, but if I go back to, if I go to portal loop, you'll see that I still have a little bit, but not too much. And basically I'll copy my address, and just imagine that I don't have a register address. I can just go to faucet.gno.land. And here I can pick portal loop, and I can say, okay, send me 10 gnots to this specific address. And then if we see, so I have 9791, and if I request this, I should be able to get 10 more. And now we have, yeah, so we have more. Okay, cool. So that's the gist. So if you do want to register a namespace, please get some coins, or ask me if you want. I can send you 200. It's not a problem in this case. But so we're speaking about the portal loop. And we can also check out docs.gno.land, and we can say, okay, there's this namespace. There's a namespaces page here that you can read about. You can read about namespaces in. So yeah, check it out. And but just to, long story short, basically, we register a username, and then we're allowed to deploy to this specific username. So for example, if let me open up code here. So say I don't know, let's just take any random code. So package Leon. So if I registered my address to Leon, then what I can do is I can deploy. So my allowed deployment paths are basically gno.land /r/leon/whatever. The same goes for pure packages p, and also I'm allowed to deploy to okay, let's just delete this, but basically you get the point, and I am also allowed to do this. So by this, initially, once I didn't have a registered username, I would only be able to deploy to PNR and then my address, which is kind of like an anonymous, quote-unquote, namespace. So it's like a pseudo-anonymous namespace. And then in this case, here, once I register my my username, I'll be able to deploy here and here. So what I want to do is, after registering, which I already did, I want to deploy home. And I also want to deploy config, for example. And again, this is all very custom. This isn't like something that you have to do. This is just the way I go about it, and Manfred went about it, and it's a pretty cool idea. So let's try to get started with this. I'm using Golang here, and Golang doesn't have a plugin for VS Code, not for VS Code, sorry, for Gnolang or for Gno yet, unfortunately. But if you do code in the monorepo, which is here, and I'll just let's reset. Okay. And if I check my commits, so git log, I am basically on master. Today's August 30th, so this is from today. So I'm on the latest version. And basically what coding in the monorepo allows me to do is I can create a Leon folder here, for example. So it's just following the path. So it's, in examples, you have gno.land, then imagine a slash. And actually, let me just do this. So if you go here, and then I go to Leon, and then just do pdub, you do this, it's basically the path that we just talked about. So it's gno.land /r/Leon. And then here I can actually make, for example, a new folder, call it home. And I can also make another one with the name config. Okay. So I'm going to code in here. You'll see in a sec why. But you could code this anywhere else outside of the monorepo or inside or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can also do this in the playground, but I want to show you something really cool, which is kind of a fortunate turn of events for us in this specific point in time, because we do not have an IntelliSense plugin yet. There is an open issue. Actually, let me show it to you. Gno. And then if we just go here to issues, there is an open issue for implementing a GNO plugin for VS Code and an IntelliJ IDE GNO plugin. So and this is a good first issue, help wanted, etc., etc. So if anybody has experience with this, please jump in and do this. This is super important, and it's on our plates. But if anybody likes this and wants to take it up, please write a comment here saying, hey, I'd like to try to do this, and yeah. Okay, cool. So going back into config. So let me try to make my config, config.gno, and package config. So the idea is that you always name the package the same way you name your folder, generally most of the time. And I actually want to see 2 or 3 things. I want to basically save my main address, let's say. So let's do this. Say main, and let's say getting my address. I'm just gonna get it from here. Okay. So this is my main address, and this is the one registered to Leon. Okay. And then let's see what else can we do. So actually, let's actually write it in init just so it's a little bit cleaner. Main equals this, and here we can just say std.address. So this is what I wanted to show you. Basically, what happens here is that we actually have types here, as you can see in GoLand, and we have them because the imports are GoLand is actually checking out this folder, and this actually does contain the std package. So it's gnolang, gno vm, stdlibs, std, and if we go here, this is basically what it is: stdlibs, std, and as you can see, there's Go code and the Gno code here. So what it's doing is it's actually checking out this package, and there is a package, but it doesn't know that this is a Gno file. So it's still going to allow me to have IntelliSense, which is pretty cool. But this import won't actually work with Gno later. So you do have to remove it in the end. But this is just kind of a cool hack that I accidentally figured out actually. But for now, it's pretty cool. But you just have to make sure that you remove the rest of the path after actually trying to publish the package. Okay, cool. Registered to Leon. All right. And then what else do we want to do? Okay, so we want to have a function that's just going to return my main address. So this is basically my main address. And then we also want a function to set this address, right? And let's say new address, std address. And also this isn't Copilot, I believe. This is like something that JetBrains, so the guys that made the IDE, have. It's a sort of a helper autocompletion. It's nice. Not nothing major, but as you can see, it like helps you put down some very basic code. Okay, so we want to set the main address to the new address, but we also want to check if the address is authorized. Right? So how do we do this? Let's create a function that we can actually say, for example, assert is or just assert authorized. And then what we can do is we can say column equals std.prevrealm, and it's really cool because as you can see, you actually have you have actual functions, right? And like it doesn't tell you what it does because it doesn't have Godoc, but it's there, right? So it's instead of having to know that this function is for getting the previous realm, and it's really cool. Do you have this auto? I can't wait until we have proper auto completion for Gno. It's going to be amazing. Okay, so basically, what is the point? The point is, if caller is not equal to main, panic config unauthorized. Okay. And sorry, so this needs address because it's we're looking for the address, right? So we're not looking for the realm itself. Okay, cool. So what I just did there was that prevrealm returns a realm, and if we go in here, you see that a realm has an address and a pkg path, and you can get the address by doing .address. So I'm getting the address and just checking it against the main address that I put down. Also, another cool thing that we could do is, for example, I want to create another, I want to have another address. It's going to be like a backup address. So if something goes wrong with my main address, I can use my other address to restore my ownership of this realm. So for example, let's say, okay, let's do the same thing basically. Let's just duplicate the code, right? So let's do this. This is returning the address, and this is returning the backup. And then we can return backup, set address, and set backup. Please tell me how you guys are following so far. Like, does this make sense, what I'm doing? Hello? Anybody there? Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks. Cheers. I'm looking at Discord on my other screen, so I know you guys are there. All right. So set backup, and then let's just do this. Right? Assert is authorized. And here we're just gonna say backup, right? So we're setting the backup, and also another thing is we also want the backup address to be able to modify stuff. So let's do caller is not equal to backup. So if it's not main and it's not backup, we are just gonna panic out, right? There's some other things that we can do here. So for example, we can do this. We can actually do a check on address. So for example, imagine that I call this and I for new address I put in like just a random string. So we want to have a check if the new address is valid, and there's a native check in GNO for this, and this basically checks the derivation path. So and it returns a bool if it's not valid. So let's say if not valid, panic config invalid address. And let's just do the same thing for this. And now we're kind of assured that if we pass in an invalid address, so if it's either empty or too long or has invalid characters or just doesn't compute, basically, because the way the addresses are derived is there's an algorithm, and you can actually check an existing address against it and see if it actually matches the format that it needs to match. But this is very simple. This can also be improved, obviously. For example, you can say you don't have to panic. You can actually return errors here as well, so that's a different story. But I'm not going to put down my backup here, because the backup, by default, this is just empty. Because if we do take a look at address, actually, it's just an alias for string. So the default value of a string in Go and in GNO, transitively, right, is just an empty string. Okay, cool. So we have a config. Very nice. All right. So let's do a GNO mod init. Whoops. So let's just go into config first. GNO mod init, and we're gonna give it gno.land /rleon config, and it's gonna create a GNO mod. And now let's actually, at the end of the process, let's actually remove this, and now it kind of becomes a little less pretty, but it's actually GNO code. So, right, and then do GNO mod tidy, and let's see. Well, I'm not really importing anything except std, so tidy isn't going to do anything, as you can see. Okay. So we have the config now. All right, awesome. And then we can also, like, for example, we can export this, and I mean, not export, it's exported by default, but we can import this in some other contract, and we can do leon config .assert as admin, and you can always check that you are the caller of some function. So in any realm, and anybody can do this, they can basically just give you ownership of something by just importing your config package, which is pretty cool, right? So this is a really cool idea. You can make this under your namespace, and yeah, you can again improve this. For example, you can, let me actually just write this down. So possible improvements, add errors, add non-panicking function as well. So for example, in this case, this panics, which just stops execution immediately. But what you can do here is you can actually, for example, create another function. Let me actually do it to show you guys what I mean. So I can do check is authorized, and I actually do want it to return an error. So, or check authorized, let's say. And basically what I want to do is I just want to return errors.new config unauthorized, and I'll import errors. And then if everything is fine, we just return nil. And then now, when somebody's calling this, you can actually just do error, column equals check authorized, and then you can wrap it in an if, and then error not equal to nil, and then you can continue execution. You can do something else, because in this case, it's just going to stop, right? So it's going to stop whatever is happening. But if you do this, then you can have return error or print something, or whatever, right? Like it doesn't like, it gives you more flexibility. So it's always good to let me export this. So it's always good to when creating these types of functions and when creating packages in general. So if you expect your code to be reused or used by someone else, it's good that you basically give people the option. So in this case, they are free to do whatever they want after they check, in the sense that they won't really be able to, they won't be able to get an authorized, they won't be able to go around the system, right? That's the point. But they will be able to do something else that they want. And in this case, you call this and you're not the caller, you're just out, right? So the transaction stops, you can't do anything else. So it's kind of a little less flexible in that sense. So it's good practice to create both of these. In this case, you export it and you say, hey, if somebody wants to use this, please go ahead. If they don't, that's fine. You can just use assert. In my case, because I'm building this for myself, right? I'll probably just be using assert because it's easier, and I don't really care about handling errors. And this is just custom code. Nobody probably will be using this too much. And they do have another option if they do want to use it. Okay. Let's do home. And then let's do touch home.gno. Right. And then let's do gno mod init home. Okay. So package home. All right. Let's actually check out again what Manfred did. So Manfred has some top level variables, has some strings, and has a big render, right? With some cool things. So I actually have an idea in mind that I want to do, and I want to have like a sort of a profile picture and some captions and maybe some other stuff. And I actually want to show you that it's really cool, that you can actually have a lot of dynamic stuff. So in Manfred's case, if you take a look at this, it's mainly stuff that he sets at some point in time. So in this case, he just added to-do list, he added he set his status to online, and he set an image. But you don't really have anything dynamic here. But what you can do is, for example, here he said, okay, to do, implement a feature that lists replies on this realm on his own posts. So basically what could happen is, excuse me, what could happen is basically you could say, let's say you import boards, and then you can say there's probably a function to render a board or something, and then you can actually have this be dynamic and actually show some stuff on the on his page. Whenever you go to it, it's going to change depending on some things. So I want to actually showcase this to you guys, and it's pretty cool. And that's the whole point of like being able to import smart contracts and view them dynamically. So okay. Let's see, I want to do a couple of things. Again, I have this in mind. I know what I want to do already, so don't be surprised that it's going relatively fast. So I want to have a profile picture. This is going to be a string, and this is going to be a link to my profile picture. Okay, I want to have a caption for this profile picture. Profile picture caption, and it's also a string. And I want to have like a small section where, well, it would be great if I could show this to you already, because I already built it, obviously. But the point is, I want to have basically a section where it's going to say, okay, you have 3 columns. The first column is the profile picture. And then you have 1 column for text, and then you have another column for some more text. So this is like going to be the first section, and that's what I'm saving here. And the profile picture will basically have a caption like this, right? So this is like a very basic representation of what I'm trying to build, but I want to save 2 specific columns. So I'm going to say string. So it's going to be a slice of 2 strings about me. Let's say like this. And it's going to make sense once I actually render it out, and it's going to be very obvious to you guys what I'm trying to do. Okay, we have an init. So PFP, I have an image already, and I have a link to it. So let me just paste it in here. Okay, and this image, you'll see what it is in a second. And then we have a caption. So it's basically it's my favorite painting, and the image that I use for my profile picture, it's Wander Above the Sea of Fog. So we have that, and then let's say that I'm gonna say about me, and then I'm gonna say hi about me, and then we can give it some new lines and say I'm Leon, and then the second one can be for example, contributions. And it's going to make way more sense when I actually render it out, but you'll see it in just a second. I just want to set this basic stuff up first. So contributions, GitHub, find them here. And then we can link GitHub. github.com/leo_hhn. Okay. So we just set some basic stuff, and let's actually see what we're going to render out. So again, going back to the render function, path string, returning a string. And render always has to be like this, by the way. You could technically say this, but it needs to take a string, and it needs to return a string. When you do this, that means that this specific argument is not going to be used in the function. So you're not really naming it. Yeah, let's leave it like that for now. And let's say, so we want to return a string. Let's call it out, or like output or whatever. Output, and then say Leon's homepage, and then just return output. Okay. All right, and now let's do GNO-dev. So GNO-dev is going to spin up a blockchain node and a gnoweb instance, as you can see, and we can actually check it out here. So it's like the local page, and as you can see, I don't know, it's probably a bit small for you guys, but it's localhost column 8888, and I'll just go to r/leon/home. Oops. Home, and then we have this, right? And the cool thing is that we can see the source, obviously, just like this is the stuff that I just wrote out. Let me close this. And it's going to get updated when I change something. So, for example, Leon's homepage 123.123, GNO-dev is going to reload. And then if you check it out, it's actually changed. So it's really cool for development. It's very useful. But okay, so we want to have, let's say, 2 or 3 sections. So the first section, and I'm gonna show you how to work with Markdown in Go and for GNO. Basically, what I want to do is I want to have a function that's gonna say render about me, and then I'm gonna make this function render about me, and it's gonna return a string, obviously. And now what I want to do is I actually want to utilize some HTML, which might not sound the greatest, because nobody likes HTML, right? But we are currently building a library to work around this and be able to write simply pure GNO, which is really cool. So what I want to do is I'm going to copy over some stuff, So for example, I'm also going to define an out, return out. And basically what I have here is just a div, and its class is going to be columns 3. So you just imagine what we talked about just now. It's going to be profile picture, column 1, column 2, right? So we use this column 3 class, which is going to basically split up the horizontal space into 3. And we can actually say, here's the profile picture, here's the first column about me, and then the second column about me. So, okay. And you'll see how this works. Plus equals, and we have to close the div like this. Okay, cool. So this is so imagine that this is the horizontal 3 columns, right? And then let's add some stuff to it, right? And the way you add it is you have to define a div for each of the columns. So div, and then column, so 2 new lines, and then you want to close it, right? And then let's add 2 new lines here as well. And then in between, you can actually plop in whatever you want for the content. So let's say out. So let's first put down the profile picture, ufmt.sprintf. And it's really cool that it has auto-completion, right? And then let's say, so what we want is the way you render images in Markdown is you put an exclamation mark and then the link to the image. So in this case, I'll just do %s, and then you can just say PFP because this is the link of the image, right? And I'm also gonna add some more text. Actually, let me just show how this looks first. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so it's screaming because this import doesn't exist, right? So we have to actually remove this and see what's gonna happen. Okay, cool. Going back, reloading. Okay, there we go. It loaded. It's a bit large, right? But it loaded. So that's good, right? And we can actually check out like the source if you're interested. Like you can go inspect, and then here you see that gnoweb has like a lot of stuff here, and then it has realm render, and this is where it actually plops in everything that I'm doing. So basically it asks the chain, it queries the chain and says, hey, chain, please give me the render of this specific path. And then whatever is the content that is returned, it's just plopped in into this realm render div. But yeah, okay. All right, so we did something nice. Okay, let's then see. So because there's only one column, it's not actually showing any other columns, but let's actually copy this. So that was column 1, this is going to be column 2, and this is going to be column 3. And so for example here, what I want to do is I want to say about me, about me of 0. And this is hard coding, but it's fine in this case because I don't really want to test this, and I don't want to, nobody's going to be using this code except me, so I'm okay with writing this type of code. And then 1. And then let's just see what's going to happen once GNOdev is done. Okay, so we have something here, but it's not horizontal. And let's try to see why that's the case. So live class column 3. Basically, what we do need to do, I believe, let's put it in another div. Let's just do this. Oh yeah, no, my bad. We need to do this because we need to separate out the two events, not the events, the two. So the header and the content. Let's see what's okay. So there we go. That's what I was trying to achieve, right? Okay. So I'm going to plop in some more content. I just have it prepared already, but it's just very simple. So for the caption, I want to add a caption to the image right here. So I will basically do this. Oh no, I'm not even sure. So I have the caption, but I'm not showing it. So what I want to do is actually just add another string here and just say PFP caption. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, what do you want? PFP caption. What's the problem? Let's just try again. Maybe it's just GNOdev. Yep. So sometimes, as you can see, so what happened there was while I was editing, I first put down this percent %s, which is indicating that there should be another string that I want to render, or basically sprintf. And GNO dev tried to reload at that point while it still didn't have this argument, so it said index out of bounds, because that's how sprintf errors, because it checks the percent size and that the argument number is the same. But that's why it errored. But once you reload it, it's fine. So let's go back to the home page, and then you see there's a little there's a little caption here, and it goes to the history of the painting. Okay, cool. So let me put down some more stuff. And also in Go, you can actually use these ticks, and they are a bit better because you can actually break them. While with normal quotation marks, it does like a plus, and it's kind of ugly. So I do generally suggest, when you have strings like this, I suggest that you just use the ticks like this. And let me just paste in some stuff that I wrote already previously. So the first one, about me, like this. So I'm Leon. I'm a DevRel Engineer at Gno LAND. I'm a tech enthusiast, lifelong learner, sharer of knowledge. It might sound a little bit cringe, but I do like sharing knowledge. It's very nice to do that. And then let me plop this in. So my contributions to Gno LAND can mainly be found here. And then I do have a to-do, but let's see how this renders out. Okay, so about me, this and that. And there's some empty space here. Obviously, you could use it for something else. You can maybe add another image or some more text, or maybe like a GitHub page or something. Exactly. I am cringe, but I am free. Okay, and then for contributions, so the idea with contributions is that just like we have on GitHub, right? Leon, you have this kind of contributions bar, and like it shows you what I did, etc., etc. The idea with r/gh is that at some point we'll be able to actually have an oracle that's going to look at GitHub and then just push stuff to the chain and actually render out dynamically what I'm doing here. But my contributions to Gno LAND can mainly be found here. And if I click here, this is basically a link where it's on gnolang/gno. And what I'm doing here is I'm just sorting by updated description, so like the latest ones, and I'm sorting by myself, right? I'm the author. So there's PRs, and then there's issues here. So everything that I did here, this is all of the stuff that I contributed to GNO. You can create this link with GitHub. It's pretty cool. And then, yeah, I mean, let's just go back to localhost 8888, and then go to rleon home. And then you see, so I have, this is like the very basic one, right? It's pretty cool. And you know, right now I'm just hard coding everything, but you do want to have a way to update this. So for example, let's say, let's just separate this out. So this is the rendering, and then updating. So we have 3 things, right? 3 or 4 things. And let's say func, func update about me, let's say, and then just say column 1, column 2, that are strings, and then so now what I want to do is I want to do config.assert is admin, but in this case it's going to import Manfred's. So what I actually want to do is remove this and just say Leon, and then just see that this is the name that I use. I believe this is it. No, it's assert authorized. So I like authorize more than admin. So this will basically panic if I'm not the one calling this function. And let's do this. And then what do I want to do? I want to just say about me of 0 is column 1, right? And about me 1 is column 2, because the slices start from 0. And then it should be able to update everything. But then you should make it, you know, for make setters for everything else. Right? Okay. So now for the actual cool part, I mean, this is already pretty cool in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Is this making sense? Like, do you guys think that you'll be able to do this on your own? this is just basically manipulating strings a bit and just knowing that you can actually render out some columns and some other stuff. Okay, cool. And by the way, this is recorded, so this will be uploaded to YouTube, and you'll be able to go back and see what I was doing. And also, I'll push this to the chain actually as well, so it's going to be live there as well. Okay, cool. So this is the thing that I actually want to show you, the dynamic part. So what I mentioned before with the boards, for this specific case, I actually want to, let me just go to gno.land. And then here, I think I showed this to you guys last time, but there's this, there are these, what do you call them? So there are these realms which live under R art, and there's a millipede. R art millipede. Let's see where it is. So it's R. Oh, it's demo. I'm sorry. So R demo. Millipede, and then we have the millipede, right? And this millipede is actually dynamic, so like you can actually see that it can grow or become shorter, right? But the idea is that if we take a look at the source, this draw function, which actually draws it and returns the millipede itself, is actually it's exported. So that means that I can import it into my realm and have a millipede on my realm dynamically. So for example, it's taking a size here, and I can give it whatever size I want. And what I want to do, for example, is I want to make it dynamic based on the block number, right? Which is pretty cool, because then you can say, okay, if the block number is 10, then make a 10 piece long millipede, and if it's not, then make it something else. So you get what I'm trying to say, and like you can do this. This is like an example of art, right? Like ASCII art, but you can do this for anything else. Like for example, say if we go to the blog, and this is the GNO blog, which is also a realm, by the way. You can check it out, and it has some stuff here. But the idea is that some of these blogs were written by myself. So for example, let me see. So for example, this Tokyo Meetup recap, if we go back down and check it out, it says written by Leon. And the idea is that, for example, what I can do is I can actually import the blog realm and then just fetch all of the posts and then filter by my own posts and have them dynamically appear on my homepage, which is like super cool, right? Because then you can have, like, for example, just imagine having like a blog section here. If you always write blogs, or if you write something else, you can just have it say, okay, these are the latest blogs that Leonard has written, and you don't have to actually update it by default, right? You don't have to update it manually. You can just publish something to the blog, and the code will do its magic, and it's super cool. And everything is on chain, so it's like, wow. Like this whole combination, like this is usually relatively easy to do in Web 2 stuff, in Web 2 apps, but in the case of blockchains, it can be quite difficult to do something like this. And this is why like importing and having imports by default as like a language feature is so amazing. But okay, so let's also do something else. So I want to show you how to import this millipede and make it really cool. So for example, let's say I want to create a function that's going to be render art. Okay, and render art will basically it's basically going to have like just like we did with the columns, except I'm going to make it a little even more prettier. So let's say out and let's add a jumbotron. So I don't know if you guys know what a jumbotron is, but basically it's like a big this is the jumbotron, right? So it's like a big piece that stretches horizontally all the way, and it has like some text, etc. So I want to have a jumbotron that's going to include 3 columns of art. So I have the millipede art, I have the GNO face art, which is also in the same folder, and I don't have a third piece. So if anybody wants to provide a different art piece, please do. So div class equals jumbotron, and then I'm gonna add some new lines here like this, and then what I want to say is I want to close this off, so it's gonna be /div, And one of the ideas is also, so, this is kind of writing HTML. And you would agree that this might not be the most prettiest thing ever that you saw, right? But for example, we're currently revamping gnoweb, so the piece that renders out the stuff. And we're going to basically allow GNO code and render code to have some custom tags and some custom things that you can actually import here that will be able to, the gnoweb will be able to render out. So for example, if we go to P, demo, and then go to UI, this is basically a library that allows you to make a DOM, so just like an HTML DOM. And then you can put stuff inside of it and actually use GNO code. So you can do like H1 of whatever, and then it's going to package it up and like wrap it in these, for example, for the Jumbotron, right? So it's going to wrap it in what I just did, and it's going to automatically return you a Jumbotron that you can use. So the idea is you don't have to actually write these divs like in practice, but you can actually just use, for example, this library. But I'm not using it because this is a little bit outdated, and we are refactoring gnoweb, as I mentioned. So let's just go with it this way, and then and it's also, there's this meme which is called what is it? So the meme where Tony Stark and the Spider-Man are talking, and then Tony Stark says, "Hey, if you're nothing without the suit, you shouldn't have it. So if you don't know how to do this manually, you shouldn't use a library." And that usually applies to a lot of code. So, okay. So I have this return out string, and after we finish this piece, I'll let you guys go. Okay, so we have render art, and let me just go back up. So this is the main render, so it has the home page, and then it has render about me. So let me just copy this and paste this in, and let me I don't know if I should. So let me do let me add some more new lines, and you'll see why. But there you go, it's rendering the art now, and then the art currently doesn't have anything, obviously, but let's say this is art, and let's see what's gonna happen. Could not find. Okay, let's see if it's gonna work. Nope. Okay, so it says it cannot find Arleon config. So let me just stop this. And if we check out the GNO mod, it doesn't have anything here. So if I do GNO mod tidy, because I have imported UFMT and config, I do need to tidy my Go mod. And then if I do GNO dev again, okay, and then reload. Okay, there we go. So we have something, right? So we have this, which we already had, and then we have the Jumbotron, right? And then there's some stuff here, but let's see what we can do about that. So what is rendering out? I think this is the text that it saw, that it has. So let's remove it. See what's gonna happen. Yep. Okay, cool. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys. And then, all right, so this is art. So we have a Jumbotron. So now let's put these 3 columns inside of this as well. So for example, let's name this GNO art. Okay, and then here we want to actually have these columns again. So let's do columns and then close off the columns like this. And let's say that we have a div, and each of these divs will be a render, for example, render GNO face, right? And we don't have this function, so let's create this function as well. Func render GNO face, and then what this is supposed to do is also return a string. But the idea is that, okay, or actually maybe let me just write this down first, and then we can actually say return GNO face. So GNO face again is just an art piece. You'll see it in a second. So render GNO face.render, and what I want to do is actually, this is taking a string, but the way it works is if we go to this package, so it's the GNO face package, it takes the path, and if the path is something, so if it's not empty and it's a number, it actually uses that as some entropy for the GNO face. And this is like the randomness that you have that you can use for generating these. So what I want to have here is I want to actually do std.getHeight. So this is actually going to return the current block height. But because this is taking a string, I need to do string string conversion int to a, or I to a. And then the problem with this is that this also returns, it takes in an int, but get height, as you can see here, returns a int64. So I do have to cast it like this. And it's okay that this is erroring because this is not actually looking at the GNO version, so it doesn't have this GNO-lang machine. It just has, this is just how you use it. So let me actually, as you can see, like, it imported GNO face, it imported STD. So let me remove this, and let me remove this. And then let me just sort these for a second. Usually the way we do it is the STD libs, we put them up top, and then we have a break, and then you put down the P's, so the packages, the pure packages, and then you put down the realms. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. So there's import not found. Again, this is because GNO mod tidy, because I imported a new thing. And then let's just go to GNO dev and let's see what's going to happen. Okay, nice. So we have GNO face. So this is GNO face, and then it's number 2. I guess this is the seed, so this is the second block, because GNO dev creates a block only when you create a transaction. So let me actually like simulate a transaction. GNO key, for example, like this, and then so it's block 3 now, and it's a different face. So this is really cool. So now I want to have the millipede here as well, and then maybe something else here. Okay. Nice. And this isn't rendering because there, so when something doesn't render in gnoweb like this, that means that there is no, let me actually, well, let's actually see the source. I don't know if you guys can see. Okay. So if we go here, and then basically there is no new line between the top and the bottom, or this and this, and that causes rendering issues basically. So what you do need to do is, so render GNO face, and no, it's actually this. Let me add some new lines, and let's see what's going to happen, if it's going to get fixed. Nope. Okay, so that's not there. Maybe it's before. I don't know. See? Oops. Sorry. Okay. No, all right, and then it's somewhere else. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Why it's not rendering out? Let me actually try to do this. So we'll call new lines. Just plop them down and see if it's gonna work. Okay. Let's stop GNO dev when it starts. Like sometimes it just starts freaking out because I'm doing too many changes at the same time. So let's just run it again. Okay, and then check out this. Okay, nice. So now we have GNO art. Very cool. And actually, there's a new line here that shouldn't be there. So let me. I don't know if I can remove this. Let's see. Okay, nice. Very cool. But now GNO face is stretching out all the way because it doesn't have any other columns. So now let's just add some new columns. So another GNO face maybe, and then here I'm just going to put down empty spot. Because right now we only have 2 art pieces. If anybody wants to contribute some art pieces. So here you have art, GNO face, and millipede. If anybody wants to contribute some more. Oops, okay, so something is wrong. Let's check out what's wrong. So render art. Oh, okay, I understand. So basically the point is that I should have, let's put these here. So column equals out plus equals this, and then just return out. And then, so basically I just want to split up this functionality here so that it renders the columns, and then you have 2 columns, and then this is not needed, so this is closing this. Oh no, sorry. So this is closing this, and we can actually write down some comments here just to just to say that, you know, this div is actually closing this and this div is closing this, just to you know, just to make it clear what's for what, right? The joys of HTML, right? Okay, let's see what's going on here. And I don't need these now. I can just remove this and see what's going to happen. Okay. And why is this outside? That's the question. Does anybody see the issue? Because I don't. So Jumbotron, you have the Jumbotron, and then we have this, and this is closing the Jumbotron, this is closing this. Okay, let's just add another. Maybe that's the problem. Empty spot number 2. And see if maybe it's gonna be happier. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, maybe if we do this twice, just see what's gonna happen. And actually, let me write some more. Actually, no. Okay, let's see. Let's reload it. Oh wow. Okay, I don't know why this is happening. So this should be in here, right? So that's a bit weird. Okay. Because we're calling a render art. No, this should be fine as well. So we should have just the Jumbotron and then the columns. And then you close the columns and then you close the That's weird. Oh, this is why. Haha. So I need to open the div and close it. All right. Okay, let's see. It's still the same. Okay. You open the div, you close it, you render out the stuff that you want. Okay. And then you say you open up one. So this is the one column, second column, third column. Let's reload again. Maybe that's hasn't loaded the changes. No, still there. Okay, that's weird. Maybe it has something to do with the with this. Let's see. Oh, okay. There we go. Cool. We got it working. Nice. So 3 columns, right? Okay, nice. So I actually want to maybe replace this Gno face with something else. Or let's do this. And then here we actually want to render out the millipede. Let's try the millipede. I'm just going to copy this out actually because it's very, very similar. Millipede, and then we do millipede draw. And then what does draw take? Draw takes an int, which is the size. And then what I want to do is let's just get the height. Let's just get the height. And we can say, because the millipede can be 100 lines long, I believe. This is the maximum. But I don't want it to be that big, so let's say that I want it to be like 10 lines long. So let's just say mod 10 plus 1. So this is gonna, so every 10 blocks, it's gonna have the same millipede, right? So let's just see what happens now. Let's reload it, and it's going to say, okay, the import is wrong, obviously. So let's remove this and let's put it down. Okay. Cannot use std as value. Okay, so we need to, so it just says you cannot use this as value to draw because draw takes an int. So let's just cast it. Okay, and let's just see what's going to happen. Okay, so there's something happening here, but it's a little bit broken, right? So let's try to see what's going on. So maybe it's also about adding a call block, because if we take a look here, this is just returning the string, but the render itself, when you're rendering it out on the millipede realm, it just has something. So this is including code blocks, and then the draw, and then the code block. So let's just take this and actually use it, and maybe it's going to be a little bit better. And let me just plop this in right here, remove this, and we do this. Okay, and let's just see what's going to happen now. Define output. Whoops. Okay. Okay, it's a little bit moved above, but that's fine. It's we have a millipede, right? So let's maybe add a small title that's just gonna say millipede. That should level it out. Let's see. Okay, let's maybe just say without the headers. Illegal character. Okay, and then if we reload it, come on. Okay. All right, so now it's looking a bit better. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. How do you guys like this? I also want to simulate another transaction. So let me do, for example, this. So now I'm doing a transaction on my second screen right here. So if I do a transaction, everything should update. So it's Gno face number 3, and then the millipede got to a larger size. So if we can do this again, for example, see, so let's just say this, and then we have 5, and then Gno face 5. So just imagine that this is on a real blockchain. It's always like whenever you load this page is going to be different. so that's pretty cool. Nice. Yep. Okay, nice. You can use CSS. As far as I know, there have been some attempts at this. So let me actually just try to find it on GitHub. So again, everything happening on gnolang/gno. You can go here, and there was one person who tried to make a app with CSS. Try to find it. What was it? It was like it was grep Suzette. Let's see. Closed. Show links. Author. Grep. Okay, so tic-tac-toe, and you see you can actually add some stuff. So you can check this out. This is number 2554, and you can go here and then just check out the code. And for example, here in the game, this is like the game itself, the rendering. I don't know where he's doing it. Rendering, okay, and then rendering, he has like an image of the parrot. And then he probably has some CSS. You see he's doing some HTML here. So you could do this. You could try it out. But what we want to do actually is have a very minimal set of components that you can use in GNO, where you don't have to know HTML or CSS, where you can just type this in GNO and have these kinds of like, for example, the sectioning, right, or the ordering of elements, etc., etc. We want to have that in GNO so that you don't actually have to write CSS and HTML, because it can be a little bit painful sometimes, as you saw. But yeah, this is basically wrapping up what I'm trying to what I tried to show you guys. So just let me know how this sounds. Was this a cool demo of building this? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so this should be, this should be something that's relatively simple. I mean, you guys saw that I did some HTML, I did some formatting, etc., etc. But you don't have to do this per se. You could literally just have, you could do this. So you could just delete this and then say output plus equals about me, and then you can also say I'm Leon. And then let's just add some new lines and then see what's going to happen. And this is it, right? So you can basically have a very, very simple homepage. You can add whatever you want to it. You can make it dynamic. That's the really cool part. What I want to do personally for my homepage is that I want to basically have this section. Let me just return this. So I want to have this section which is going to generate or have, so just like we have these columns, right? So we have 3 columns. I want to have a section that you can basically say, okay, if you call this function, I'll add a new column. So then I'll be able to actually dynamically add new columns after I publish this realm, and still be able to like add new stuff, make it completely dynamic. Super, super interesting. The things you can do with this. But yeah, and just finally to let you guys know, so github.com gno.lang/hackerspace, right? You go to the hackerspace issue, and here we have live coding. And the last one was number one, constant product AMM. So the code for it is here. So there's the code that we wrote during the session, and in all code there is like a suggestion or improvements what you can do with this code. So you can do many things with this. But the gist is, if you do any improvements, or if you do try to write stuff up, create a PR and put your code here. It's going to be really, really cool, and it could count as a contribution down the line. And then I'm going to create a second folder for this session here, and I'm going to upload the code to my homepage, or everything that I just showed you guys. Yeah, you can check out the video once we upload it as well. And please make your homepages. Put them, if you do make them, no matter how simple they are, put them inside this follow-up work folder that I'm going to have in the other folder as well, so that we can see what you guys are building. And maybe at some point we'll actually have a competition on who has the best homepage. So that's going to be very cool. But yeah, okay. Thank you all for being here and for watching. Does anybody have any questions before we end it? Okay, awesome. You know that I'm here. You can always ask questions in Discord. Ping me, and I'll help you out as soon as possible.